started breathing music since the time I entered this body, and I have had the advantage of having a musician mother at home, and because I used to hear her sing most of the time, I felt that music was just like another family member for me. So, and at that tender age, I used to hum the intricate details in the Marathi Natya Sangeets that played at home, and that itself is a proof that DNA matters. It runs in my veins, and genetics does play, I strongly believe in this, that genetics plays an undeniable role when it comes to any art forms. The mention of Marathi Natya Sangeets is because my father at that point of time, he was working for a Bombay-based concern, and I was born in Maharashtra. But very soon we shifted to Kolkata, and Bengal is where we are originally from. Seeing my knack in music, my parents soon decided to take me to my Guruji, Shri Jain Sarkar. He is one of the senior most disciples of Pandit Ajay Chakravarti ji. So when I entered my Gurukul, the child who used to sing almost all the time at home, all the time would be an exaggeration though, but I sang whenever I wanted to and very freely at home. I was completely silent there, and I could continue going to my music school even after that silence. It's only because of my parents' perseverance and my Guruji's patience. So it was a why not from there on their part, and they continued despite that. And after about 1.5 months passed, I was sitting in class listening to the other children humming paltas. Palta is, by the way, a combination of notes. I'll tell you what it is. Like the senior students will practice paltas like Saga pa ma re ni re saga re ma ga pa re ma da pa ga saga re ma ga pa ma da, and so on. So these are the combination that we are given as tasks, and the younger, not necessarily the younger, but the new students practice paltas like sa re ga ma pa ga ma pa da ma pa da ni sa, and so on. So then it will come back. So I was listening, I was that day so engrossed in listening to the other kids that suddenly my turn came and I was not conscious and I sang. So naturally my Guruji was very, very delighted. He finally chalo iska monvat toota us din, and he took me on his lap and blessed me. और लड़खड़ाते हुए मेरी जो शास्त्रीय संगीत की तालीम है, I started learning formally Hindustani classical music under him. My journey of learning music formally started. An interesting phase of my childhood is my father taking me to several music competitions, and I won in a lot of them. I didn't also, in many, but irrespective of the results, what I realized within was an internal kind of a progress in terms of confidence. And when I performed publicly, because my first television appearance at the age of 6, when I sang the entire song with my head like this. And by the end of that phase, because of whatever little exposure those competitions, small little competitions gave me, I could gather a little confidence, and now even if 10 people are listening to me, I could look at them and sing. So that was, I think, a decent picture than what I was as a younger child. So from that phase, what my takeaway was that the results can motivate you or demotivate you, but it is the process that actually grooms you. So next I would move on to the time when I was approaching my early teens, and these television people had coined a new term for these talent hunt contests, and that is reality shows. At that time it not just sounded new, now it is stale, but because after a decade has gone by, but at that time it not just sounded new, but the way they packaged these shows, it was very, very attractive and new to the Indian audience, and I used to watch these shows very, very religiously, and I wanted to be there. Suddenly mujh mein bhi lalach ho gayi, and I wanted to be on stage on that platform and sing for the world. That was my aim, immediate dream. How to make it happen? Auditions. I have been to many, but because we are short of time, I will mention only my first audition and another one. My first audition happened in Jamshedpur by chance, because my father was going for an office tour and my mother was moderately free, and it was a school off for me as far as I remember. And he decided to take both of me along with him, and it was a mini vacation for the family. We went there, and the next day when we reached, we got to know that the Jamshedpur auditions timing have coincided with our holiday. So I said, why not try and see what these reality show auditions are all about. And the next day when we were approaching the road, I still remember, we saw a queue that looked exactly like the Silk Route, and we had no idea where it actually ended till we came closer and we saw a zoomed picture, got a zoomed picture of the entire scene, and saw some thousands of desperately passionate people already standing there in the queue since last night, waiting to try their luck. तो उसके सामने मेरा पागलपन कुछ भी नहीं था, and honestly उस वक्त मुझे back then I felt exactly what I'm saying right now. So for me that was the reality check of reality show auditions. And another audition which actually opened my door to recognition and whatever work I've been blessed with in the industry and fame in a filmy way happened in Kolkata. And there of course the surroundings were much more familiar to me and the people were speaking in my mother tongue, and I made it to the final round and they were extremely happy with my performance. And when they discovered that I'm underage for the show because I was just 12 and the lower limit of the age barrier was 16, I was not even close, but they still wanted to, hearing my performance, they still were keen to have me in the show. But I think it was extremely mature and wise of my parents to stop me from going there, and they told me to wait for at least another year till I develop the musical and mental stamina that one needs to be able to sustain in that kind of a platform. So I did wait, and finally when they did a junior season, they called me, and luckily I didn't have to audition for that all over again and go through the stages all over again. And I made it to my first reality show in the year 2007, and it continued till 2008. If you're a television watcher, you must be aware of it, which show I'm talking about. And the experiences I had on stage were extremely, I had many such dreamlike moments, like performing with and in front of the who's who of the industry. But the incidents that I faced off camera and off stage were far more diverse in nature for me. One such incident I would like to share with you all brought a lot of change in me was, before one of the episodes, I still remember my mother shrugging me at the middle of the night to tell me that my song that I was supposed to perform the next day has been changed. And I had barely a couple of hours left, and I was given a new song which I believed was not my style, and naturally I was not ready to attempt something that's not my genre and expose myself when I have got this opportunity. But my mother said, she gave me a vocal tonic and said, Ki, why not go for it, practice it for whatever little time you have, then perform, instead of being so full of doubts, because eventually you'll be expected to perform different kinds of songs. You cannot say that in such a show, how it is, we are expected to perform various kinds of stuff and attempt different kinds of stuff to show versatility. So I practiced, I performed the next day. I didn't sleep, of course. We reported at 5 o'clock in the morning, so I couldn't have slept anyway. So, but I surprised not only the judges with my performance, but actually more than anyone else, I was surprised myself that how did I actually pull it off. Last night मैं अपने मम्मी के साथ argue कर रही थी कि मैं ये नहीं कर पाऊँगी, और next day I actually sing it and it was quite decent. So that such things in the show which I faced actually changed my way of dealing with difficult situations, and I got rid of this habit of saying no to challenges. So after the show, media interviews, gigs, appearances, everything continued. but I was honestly not worried about that attention and buzz that was going on around me dying down. My next aim was to evolve into an original artist, because I wanted to be known for songs which are my songs. That was my aim even before I participated in a reality show. So my parents told me that it is also important for me to live and be the child that I used to be, instead of stressing over it from now on. Of course, they told me to stick to my riyaz and stick to my discipline, but I heard them. Aagyakari bachche ki tarah main school gayi wapas, and I resumed studies. And there also I was mobbed by the younger children for autographs. Selfie ka itna zamana nahi tha us waqt. So, but all that madness was very, very demanding for a 14-year-old child. Now I can look at it in a different way because I've grown up. But at that point of time, of course, I hated being treated as a special person in my own school. Then suddenly, not suddenly, but gradually, I would say, I was becoming more and more occupied with my musical assignments. And a point came when it became increasingly difficult for me to attend regular school. And then it was a big leap that my parents took, and it was, I think, very, very courageous of them to allow me to pursue my dreams and let me do what I enjoy doing the most, knowing that there's so much competition in showbiz. And I continued, just like most other Bengali families. I come from an academic family also, so I was not allowed to ditch studies. I didn't want to ditch studies. I want to go on with both my music and studies. So I continued my education through open schooling. I completed high school, and I'm very happy to say this today. I did my BBA. I graduated from Amity University. Thank you. So that was a huge leap for me in my life. Coming to my professional career, I started, playback offers started pouring in, so that was a very huge thing in my life. Jatin Pandit ji called me at the age of 14. I was called for my first playback for a Saurabh Shukla film, I'm 24. Soon after that, Pritam Da called me to sing for Golmaal Returns, Rohit Shetty's Golmaal Returns. So for an early teenager, that was quite huge. I mean, I was doing playbacks for Kareena Kapoor and Amrita Arora in that film, and it was really big for me, and an achievement. And then a string of Bollywood releases like you just heard, Ranjana, Revolver Rani, Kanchi, Subhash Ghai's Kanchi, Prem Ratan Dhan Payo, Punchlight, etc. I'm not going to name them all. So these gave me a platform to work with the composers whose music I grew up on, like Ismail Darbar, A.R. Rahman are two names who I feel really privileged to be musically associated with. And especially music directors like Himesh Reshammiya. I watched him on TV when I was a kid, and working with him, knowing him in person was a different experience, and I actually got to know how they are as people. So I owe my maturity and growth as an artist to my composers. I consider them to be my gurus. And simultaneously in Bengali industry also, I was getting good amount of work, and it started off with Bollywood, and down south in all the 4 languages. Vidyasagar sir introduced me when I was 16 years old. So since then, when I exclude Hindi and Bengali, I have been singing for 10 to 11 regional languages, regional movies. So yeah, it's been a lovely journey, and I think what I'm comfortable doing the most, that's more than talking. I hope you understand that. I would like to hum the song which kind of gave me a big high in my career, a little bit for you all. Then I'll move on to the last part of the talk. सुनते हैं जब प्यार हो तो दिए जल उठते हैं, तन में मन में और नयन में दिए जल उठते हैं। आजा पिया आजा, ओ आजा पिया आजा, तेरे ही लिए जलते दिए, बेतानी तेरे साए में जिंदगानी बेतानी तेरे साए में Suddenly I felt like I'm wearing my skin again. Talking doesn't suit me. So yeah, so the next thing that happened was, it was not even part of my dreams and aspirations list. एक bucket list होता है ना सबका, तो ये था ही नहीं मेरे लिस्ट में. That was becoming a composer and a songwriter. And in this phase, before starting this second innings of my career, I had a meaningless argument with my parents. I was very, very skeptical when they found out that some of my melodies that I randomly came up with at home were decent, and they told me to write on them because they were just tunes. So if you need a song, you need lyrics, right? So when they told me to write on them, I was like, you need to be born with a gift to be able to write a song and make your own music. So that's creativity a notch higher. I am good with what I'm doing, and I'm good as a singer. So this is what I said to them. Then I started writing songs, and I started feeling that this gives me, making my own tunes and writing my own thoughts and making it into a song gives me more joy than it does when I sing or give life to other people's creations. And I felt like when you create something, something is born out of your womb, and it's like your own baby. So that's a different level of satisfaction and contentment I felt. So I recently completed doing an indie pop album, and something that really surprises me, that I completed 2 Bengali feature films as a composer and a songwriter, one of which has released today, my debut film in Bengal. So I'll give you a snippet of the indie pop album Mizaj-e-Ishq that I recently completed, and it's getting a good response from the audience. And also audience has a good role to play in this, because people constantly write to me on social media that I should compose more often, and apart from my film releases, they have been very, very inquisitive. So that has empowered me as an artist to make my own music. So a bit of Mizaj-e-Ishq for you all. शुरू भी नहीं किया है. धीरे से तेरा वो कानों में कुछ कह जाना, सर्द सांसों का गर्म यूं हो जाना, मिजाजे इश्क ने अजब रंग बिखेरा, थोड़ा सा है तेरा थोड़ा मेरा, थोड़ा सा है तेरा थोड़ा मेरा, थोड़ा मेरा. Thank you guys. So I'll sign off singing only, because that is something which makes me feel comfortable more than talking, as I said. But the idea that was that I wanted to convey, and the idea behind my talk today was that plan well, be prepared, be in the best shape that you can be, because life throws challenges anytime, any moment. So it's very important to be prepared and be in a good shape, but also learn to let go of the plans and let go of the self-image that you create over time. कि मुझे तो सिर्फ यही आता है. मुझे भी लगता था कि मुझे सिर्फ यही आता है, लेकिन अभी मैं ऐसा बहुत कुछ कर रही हूँ जो मुझे लगता था कि शायद I'll never be able to pull off. So it's very important to take the essence of any idea shared in any part of the world, and something that I would like to end my talk with is a bit of music that I grew up learning and something that reminds me of my roots. So plan well in life, but also let go of the plans, because the universe sometimes does have larger plans for us. Re ga pa sa ni pa pa sa ni ga ni pa re pa ga re ni pa sa ga 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 re ga ba ni pa ga ga re ga ba ni sa ni ba ni pa ni sa re ga re sa ni ba ga re sa re ga re ga ba ni pa ga re ga ba ni sa ni ba ni pa ni sa re ga re sa ni ba ga re sa re va ta pi ganapati vajayaham va ta pi ganapati vajayaham va ta pi ganapati vajayaham varenasam varapradam shri varenasam varapradam shri va ta pi ganapati vajayaham va ta pi ganapati ganapati गणपति गणपति वातापि गणपति कलम्बुजभास बीजापुरं कलुषविदूरं भूलोकाय अनादिगुरुगुहतोषितबिम्बं अंस्वध्वनिभूषितेन वातापि गणपति भजयामि वातापि गणपति Sari ga 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 ni ga 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 re ga re sani 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 ga re ga ga re sani ga re ga re sani sari ga re ga 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 re sani sari ga re ga 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 ni ma ni sa ni re sari ga re ga re sani ga ni ba ga ba ni sa re ga ba ni sari ga ba ma ta pi ganapati vajayaham vaatapi ganapati ganapati ganapati